primary schools across England, a deadline is approaching. By 2010, the government wants every child at Key Stage 2 to have the opportunity to learn a foreign language. The good news is that 84% of primaries are already offering some form of MFL in class time. And for these Year 5 children, just back from visiting pen pals in France, even a little French seems to go a long way.
Well, some of it was confusing, but they know simple English and we know simple French, so then it was quite easy.
So it kind of combined, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it's fun to try and figure some of their words that they're saying to us.
It made me feel quite proud because I've got a different language and I can talk to other people who I don't really know that well.
But in order to meet the full primary language entitlement, schools must also help children to reach a recognised level of competence by age 11. In this film, we learn how one local authority is starting to tackle progression and visit 5 schools facing different challenges to be ready for 2010. Medway is a small unitary authority in Kent with a strong commitment to MFL.
With a year to go, Medway have probably the majority of our schools now delivering languages. We've got 63 schools with Key Stage 2 pupils, and about 60 of them are actually delivering languages. If not in all year groups, then at least it's sort of 2 or 3 out of the 4 year groups.
Their language project launched in 2005 with a simplified version of the government's Key Stage 2 framework.
In order to actually deliver a skills-based language curriculum, you actually need quite a lot of language skills, or actually quite a lot of training. And the teachers really felt more comfortable to start with if they could focus on content. So in order to get languages into the curriculum and actually get it being delivered, we focused on a content-based approach with reference to skills as well.
This has resulted in the development of complete schemes of work for each year group to accompany the formal delivery of MFL across Medway.
Where we go next really is a question of looking carefully at progression. It's in place in Year 3, it's in place in Year 4. Can we keep that level of momentum going to make sure that there is real progression in Years 5 and 6?
Bonjour. Bonjour. Ça va?
Ça va bien.
Comme ça, très bien. La nourriture. What food can you remember in French? JD?
Les pains.
Très bien.
Le jambon.
Le jambon, oui.
La pomme de terre.
Les pommes de terre. Do you remember in French what that, in English what that is?
Potatoes.
Très bien.
At Parkwood, French is being introduced into the curriculum, 1 year group at a time, in line with the Medway plans. The aim is to build on content and skills at a rate that is manageable.
We started to equip our Year 3 teachers with the skills that they needed to deliver first and foremost, and then on a rolling programme have worked through with our Year 4 teachers as well. We're now at the stage where our Year 5 staff are beginning to introduce modern foreign languages more formally in the classroom and have provided a dedicated time for the language to be taught.
Je voudrais.
Je voudrais.
Je voudrais.
Je voudrais.
Je voudrais.
Je voudrais.
Très bien.
The model that we've chosen to adopt at Parkwood has worked for us because it's enabled us to embed that language teaching. Rather than everybody trying to have a go at it, we've been able to roll it through over the years, and it's become more of a foundation on which to build.
Répétez. Qu'est-ce que?
Qu'est-ce que?
We've also seen how far we can take the children so that in each case the next teacher can pick them up and move them forward, as well as consolidate some of the learning that they've had previously.
Year 4 is very much learning vocabulary and answering questions, oui or no. I think in Year 5 we're able to take the children a stage further and get them to develop their own conversations. Role plays work very well, I find, with the older children.
Bonjour, madame. Bonjour. Bon, qu'est-ce que? Oui, je fais.
Qu'est-ce que?
Qu'est-ce que bon voulez? Je voudrais
The school is also exploring how to make the most of curriculum time and teacher expertise.
Our curriculum planning group had to think long and hard about how they could actually dedicate the time to support modern foreign language teaching when our curriculum is already under pressure from all the different subjects that we're trying to teach. But we felt quite strongly that this would actually fit in with our approach and our skill-based curriculum that we've introduced, and also feel that it's an important aspect of learning for the children. Within year groups, teachers have worked out a programme where they can deliver 3 different lessons at the same time, and the children will rotate through the 3 lessons.
In Year 5, this carousel system supports teachers with strengths in music, RE and French.
It was something I wanted to look at because I'm in Year 5 and I'm the languages coordinator. I wanted to be able to teach the other classes when some other members of staff weren't so confident. From a teacher's point of view, it saves time, so I prepare one French lesson very well to teach all Year 3 classes rather than an OK RE lesson, an OK music, an OK French.
Bonjour, ça va? Oui, ça va? Très bien, bien.
Ocho, nueve, diez, uno, dos, tres.
Oaklands is one of only 2 Medway schools offering Spanish. This has brought additional pressures for non-specialist staff.
It's been really tough to introduce a modern foreign language. I stay committed to the language we chose. I think we made the right choice in not going with French but following Spanish. But it is very hard to ask teachers to step out of their comfort zone.
Their strategy was to introduce the same Year 3 schemes of work simultaneously across all 4 year groups.
We decided for all of us across the school from Year 3 through to Year 6 to all teach the same programme of study to the children so that we could come back, share how things were going, what we'd found worked, what hadn't worked, because basically the majority of us had no Spanish whatsoever. So a lot of it was learning with the children together.
How about como te llamas? Yes. What's the answer, please? Me llamo, okay? Thomas. Me llamo Thomas, right, thank you. Como te llamas? It was daunting, I think, for the rest of the staff, because if I put myself in their shoes, I'm quite confident with the language, although I'm self-taught. But if I had to speak, if someone asked me to teach French or German, I would be absolutely lost. I would be traumatised, I think. So in that respect, I can feel for the staff who have to do it.
We decided to pick Spanish as our modern foreign language, not just because we had a teacher in the school who could speak the language, but we felt for our children in this context, they would probably more often visit Spain than they would France if we taught French, and have an opportunity to speak Spanish more frequently.
I could say "¿Qué tal?" and that means are you happy or are you sad? And if they said muy mal, that'd be sad, and if it's muy bien, that'd be happy.
Coca! Greece!
The other challenge for Oaklands has been to find enough time to deliver and embed the language effectively.
By 2010, you're meant to have an hour of Spanish. Where on earth they're going to put an hour, I do not know. However, so we teach half an hour in class, and we lift the lessons from the programmes of study, Medway's programme of study. Then I take the register in the morning and the afternoon, and I personally, and I think other staff also, sort of do warm-up activities in PE as well to reinforce some of the language learnt. So that's really where we get our hour from.
It's helping the children hear those terms and phrases, numbers, colours, in another context apart from in the classroom, and just helps keep them at the front of their minds.
Los chicos buscan la bandera español. Las chicas de Gran Bretaña.
We're now in the position to reflect on where we've got to. We haven't made much progress. We're still with the Year 3 programmes of study much across the whole school because staff confidence levels, having to get used to the idea of repeating things a number of times to help the children get things into their mind. And while some teachers have made huge strides with their language teaching, others are finding it difficult and are having to be honest and saying, I'm finding this tough going, I need more help, I need more support.
What's your month, Sasha?
Julio.
Julio, muy bien. What's your month?
Mayo.
No. Mayo, muy bien. To be perfectly honest, we're all being philosophical, especially me, because we've got to wait and see what Year 4 produces. And when we've got the Year 4 programmes of study, then we'll think clearly about how far we want to go with it. But each teacher training session is becoming increasingly more demanding. So I think a lot of the staff are apprehensive, however, very, very willing to do it. My personal opinion is you do need a linguist teaching a language because it is quite challenging.
L'épicerie. Très bien. Le château. Le château. Très bien. L'hôtel. L'hôtel. La poste. La poste.
As the specialist language teacher at All Hallows, Kathy Tomlin teaches French from reception to Year 6, up to an hour a week. Her expertise gives her more flexibility with the materials.
The Medway plans work on 30 minutes lessons, so to me they're too short. So, and combining them not necessarily does enough for me. But I'm a French person, so I tend to use probably quite a lot of language, quite a lot of resources.
L'épicerie.
Très bien.
Le château.
C'est pas un château, c'est une aigle.
Assessment is key to making sure there's real progression, and Kathy uses a range of techniques.
If I'm not happy with a child's progress, I might ask a TA to follow that child with just a simple tick sheet and see, for example, how many times the child is actually answering the questions or what kind of places the child can actually answer and pronounce properly.
La boulangerie.
Fantastic.
Le café.
Excellent. Excellent. Fantastic.
We take part, and obviously Madame Tomlin and I would talk about the assessment, and with the I can sheets, when that's being done, Madame Tomlin has them individually and she goes through the I can sheets, and I'll be, and Mrs Lynch will be, going through little bits with them just to make sure that they know what they're doing, what they're supposed to be saying, getting the right phrases and that kind of thing, so we're both aware of what's going on.
We have been filling in our I can sheet showing us what we know from that module. And you've been ticking most things, haven't you? But we certainly haven't been ticking anything about the poem because we haven't done the poem. Whenever you can do something, remember, even if you look back at previous sheets, you can also tick what you now can do. It's all about what you can do, okay?
I think that the I can sheets are a good way to show people what you can do, and you can, like, if you read it, you would suddenly remember how to say it.
Children need to know that they are achieving something. And that's where the I can statements are so useful, because children can say that they will need to learn something, and they are preparing themselves for that outcome. Okay, obviously some of you cannot tick very much, and that's okay. On top of that, we have some a bit more formal assessments, which focus on various objectives, various skills that the children have to achieve, more based on the Key Stage 2 framework. So, for example, there could be a literacy skill or a numeracy skill.
Deux croissants.
Deux croissants, très bien, deux croissants.
We've started to make tentative steps in Medway towards developing assessment techniques. We've got several schools who are going to start trialling different methods. We're obviously promoting the languages ladder because that goes right from primary through to secondary through to adult education, so we can hopefully see some sort of continuity. But a lot of the teachers are saying, particularly the non-specialist teachers, that actually assessing skills is quite a challenge for them. They're very happy to assess content, the can-do tick list approach, but when it comes to assessing skills, they need a lot more training and a lot more input.
Okay, now some of you are able to write all these words, Okay. Some of you won't, but do your best. See how many you can do. You can see that there will be a progression, and eventually we'll be able to actually use the language ladder and actually record where the children are at, what level they are at. At the moment, we're still quite low, but we're moving up, which is good. D'accord, on y va? At the end of it all as well, when they leave in year 6, I want to be able to say to the secondary schools, that's what the child is at. Even this year's year 3, 4, they're level 1. Next year they'll be level 2. By year 6, they will be level 3, but I don't think they'll be level 4. Not quite yet. In a way, 2010 might be the year when actually you end up with 1 year group having gone through and actually reaching the level 4.
Prune. 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 Une prune. Une prune. Très bien.
Poire.
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 Très bien. Une poire.
Une poire.
Très bien. Et ça, qu'est-ce que c'est?
With primary schools working hard to help pupils reach a recognised level of language competence, there's an increasing need to provide continuity at secondary.
We virtually assume we have to go back to square one, follow the secondary scheme of work, and probably in the past, anybody who's had a language experience, it's tough really that we haven't taken that into consideration.
Merci. Une autre fraise.
We really do need to be able to build on the levels that they've reached in junior school, just like English, maths, science do, where the children come through with maybe a level 3, level 4, and we build on that. So we're not revisiting and redoing the same topics, because obviously that's demotivating.
For Deanwood Primary, visits by secondary teacher Nellie Malloy from Raynham School for Girls provide valuable language support and give her an insight into the language knowledge of each year 6.
Madam Loy comes from one of our local secondary schools that our girls do, so they've already got that link there, and it gives them a way into the language. As we said, it's very practical, it's very fun, it's hands-on, so the children are going there very enthusiastic, and rather than worrying, oh, I've got to learn a language, they're wanting to get there and they're wanting to develop and build on what they've got. And the big thing for us is making sure we've got that link, so the children aren't taken right back to the bottom step, that it's recognised they have got this space, and it obviously will help the secondary schools to build on it from there.
Je voudrais 2 oranges aussi, s'il vous plaît.
Très bien. Voilà.
C'est combien?
Oh, c'est 10 euros, s'il vous plaît.
The knowledge that the secondary school teacher brings back from the primary school helps us to predict any difficulties that we might have with certain children, any special skills they'll come with, special communication skills. Obviously, lots of the skills you learn in languages are transferable skills, communication skills being obviously the most important one.
Très bien. Now I was wondering if some of you have learned animals before in a primary school.
Back at Raynham, Nellie tries to find ways of celebrating the prior language knowledge of all her Year 7 students.
I tend to use the pupils who had learned French before, sort of helped with the delivery of the lessons, so they would introduce vocabulary to the rest of the class, or they would share with the rest of the class what they've learned previously.
Très bien. Can you tell us what animals you remember?
I remember the dog.
Bien, tu montres à la classe? Tu montres à la classe? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Chien.
Un chien, très bien. Alors toute la classe, un chien.
Un chien.
Très bien. Et quoi encore?
Le lapin.
Oui, c'est un...
Les lapins.
Très bien. Toute la classe, un lapin.
Un lapin.
Excellent.
When the children come from Year 6 at the primary school to us to start here in Year 7, they are confident, they have had a good experience. So yes, it's a confidence builder for all.
Comment? Il est gourmand, très bien. Excellent.
Medway is also asking primary schools to create a Year 6 profile. These will be passed to secondary schools to help them accommodate the wide range of language ability.
The secondary school said actually we have so many feeder schools we can't look at individual pupil records, but actually what we can do is we can, if say we've got 10 or 12 primary schools, we can have a quick look and see actually even if it's just what language those pupils have studied, how many years those pupils have studied that language. It gives them an idea about where to pitch their teaching, and it's actually been requested from the secondary schools, which I think is key.
Bravo, Amy.
Whether it was a tick box profile, whether it stated the levels, whether it just gave a general overview of what the children have done in their language experience, would give us an indicator of where we need to start.
Fermez le circuit. Ça marche ou ça marche pas? Non, ça marche pas? Ah oui, ça marche. Ça marche. Super, ça marche.
Working from the Medway plans has given schools a solid MFL foundation. But as their confidence grows, so have their expectations.
One of the biggest challenges we felt was even giving children their 1 hour entitlement, so effectively double the French that they were receiving previously. We actually found that their knowledge was actually not increasing at the rate that we'd like it to.
Le circuit est ouvert. Le circuit est ouvert. Oui, très bien, Bradley. Le circuit est...
At Cliffe Woods, they're taking part in a national pilot to see what happens when you integrate language and content. For this dual Year 3-4 class, it involves learning the science module on conductors and circuits in French.
The focus was to make sure that their learning in science was maintained, but with the hope that the language learning would be brought along with that. When you do it in this way, actually you make connections. You make connections with the English, you make connections with the French, you make connections with the science words, and your sentence building skills and all those progressive skills are actually developed, I think, much quicker and much easier than when we're doing it, when we're just focusing on our animals or our colours or whatever we're doing in that way.
Ça marche ou ça ne marche pas? Ah, très bien, ça ne marche pas. Mais pourquoi? 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 Oui, en français? En français, c'est le mot en français? Français? Ouvert. Oui, c'est ouvert.
One of the major concerns would be how does that affect that subject? Yes, it might be great for French, but is that okay for science or history or whatever's being taught? The interesting thing is children actually gain a new enthusiasm for that subject because all of a sudden it's different, it's new, it's interesting, and they're actually having to be more alert.
C'est quoi? C'est éteindre ou allumer? Deux allumés, très bien.
Science and French is better when we do it both together because we learn a bit more and it's a bit harder, so we use our brains a bit more.
So read the questions out. One of the questions that you're going to pick. Am I a man's best friend? So what one would you pick out of there?
Dog.
What's that in French?
Sheep.
Excellent.
Medway is using this project as a basis for developing more creative cross-curricular schemes of work. These require a skills-based approach that's closer to the Key Stage 2 framework. But how will non-specialists cope?
I've done a small amount of French teaching in the school, and I found that I didn't really know sort of where to go with it. I didn't know what games to do, but sort of having Wendy here, she's took over the French in my class, obviously through science, and just watching what they were doing, all the different games, and ways to teach it. I'm feeling a bit more confident about that. I think I wouldn't be able to do all the talking and everything in French, but like the things that they've got to learn in French, then we need to know that anyway. So I would be able to do that. I'd feel confident doing that. So I don't think that teaching French through another subject is going to be any harder than teaching it just by itself.
I feel that the teachers themselves will actually find it much easier to actually deliver the language when it has a purpose. The children really relate to something that has a purpose. It motivates them, they can see a reason for doing it. Obviously, wouldn't expect them to speak all of the lesson in French, and myself, I'm not actually a trained specialist. I've got A-level French, but I'm not trained beyond that. But I still feel that they can deliver parts of the lesson in a range of subjects when they're just using the key vocabulary.
The light bulb won't shine.
There is a danger that it can be superficial, that you can end up with simply word level input where you're not actually thinking about both subjects together, you're actually just thinking about it in terms of one subject and how to shoehorn languages in. So what we're doing to address this is we're actually creating sample cross-curricular plans for Year 6 so that schools will actually have templates to work to, ready-made units but also ones that they can develop themselves.
And you need to label your game, okay, using the French words. Mason.
But we're really trying to get schools to actually be creative with their curriculum, and that's not just about languages, that's about other subjects as well. But I think languages is now seen so much as part of the curriculum that we can actually harness that to develop languages too.
So the circuit is Emily? Yep, that was it. Thank you.
So with a year to go, how are schools feeling about the 2010 entitlement?
I think there's a real enthusiasm in Medway, and I think we're well on target to getting there ready for that 2010 date.
Whilst we don't hold ourselves up to be experts particularly, it's something that we enjoy teaching and the children have responded very well to.
What our main aims and objectives are is simply to get children to speak French, to enjoy French and be confident in using French.
It's going to be a tough call to be ready for full entitlement. But the children have an entitlement, and what we're doing is working our hardest to ensure that they have what they are entitled to have.